Well, hi, and welcome to another episode of Ask Mike, where we talk to a lot of interesting people about great things going on here in East Hampton. So we're here today to talk about the Bear Fest with Burns Maxey, the coordinator of East Hampton City Arts Plus, but I wanted to take a moment to talk a little bit about the history of arts here in the community and maybe to provide a little bit of background as to where we are today. Most of us know that in the 70s and 80s, the traditional mills here in the community started emptying because companies were moving south, and later they moved overseas, and we were faced at one time with a lot of prospects of very vacant mill space, and the planning department here in town and town meeting, when we were a town, decided that we needed to take a look at the old mills more like an asset than the potentially some vacant properties that we had to deal with. And so zoning changes were allowed to create opportunities, I think, for property owners to be able to utilize their spaces in non-traditional ways. The idea of having a live workspace in one location was attractive to some as being maybe a potential for bringing people who were independent businessmen, businesswomen into town. And I think that the arts community noticed that. And in my mind, that sort of is the reason that arts came here. The original artist's location here in town is 1 Cottage Street, and that was sort of the example that existed here that we used to create this kind of zoning, and it's worked out fairly well. We have artist lofts in Eastworks, and we have artist studios here at 1 Cottage Street, and the Paragon building on Pleasant Street now has a lot of artist studios. Mill 180 is going to be live workspace similar to the activity that's happening at Eastworks, and all in all, this really has created the synergy, I think, that allows us to expand on art activities here in town. The Art Walk was created essentially as an idea that came from a couple of gentlemen who were living here in town, and the planning department took hold of that idea, and we started focusing more of our grant efforts towards arts and the like, and now your position is actually in the planning department.
It is. It is definitely part of the planning department, and we consider this as a planning initiative of how we can invest energy and time into making this a destination point for people who are seeking out a place in the Pioneer Valley for a place to find a studio if you're an artist, or if you're starting a new business, or if you're coming to find an event happening.
An economic development initiative, essentially.
Absolutely.
That's focused around the cultural needs and desires of a community, and it's really been quite a success story here. Well, Burns, it's great to have you here on the show, and really it's kind of an opportune time to talk about East Hampton City Arts and the activities that happen in town, and I guess in particular the Bear Fest, since that's the latest thing coming up, the big deal for this summer.
Yes, it's a city-wide art project that's happening throughout the city of East Hampton, and the kickoff actually begins soon, May 19th and 20th, with the Tabletop Bears. They're being shown over at Cottage Street during the open studios. And
so what's a tabletop bear?
A tabletop bear is an 18-inch high bear. Yes. Yep. And they've gone out to schools in East Hampton, West Hampton, and Southampton, and classrooms have creatively transformed these bears. And they actually just came back on Monday, and they look fantastic.
Nice.
They do. And so the schools they brought them back, and they're going into the artist studios, and then they'll be bid upon throughout open studios, and then they'll be put throughout the businesses in East Hampton. So during the Bear Fest, you can see bears on the street, but you can also see bears in businesses throughout East Hampton.
Well, that's wonderful.
And Southampton and West Hampton.
And Southampton and
West
Hampton.
And that's new this time. So that's something that at ECA Plus in 2011, ECA Plus spearheaded this Bear Fest in 2009, and in 2011 they actually invited West Hampton and Southampton artists to become part of their membership. So this is part of that initiative as well.
Excellent. A little expansion, and including some of the smaller communities around us.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Absolutely.
So the Tabletop Bears are an effort that we've done with the elementary school children to bring some art from the classrooms out onto the street.
Sure.
Are they similar to the bears that'll be on the street?
No, they're actually the same form as the 3.5-foot bear. but they're much smaller. There's
Sure.
a 3.5-foot bear, and then there's a 4-foot bear.
The ones that'll be on the street.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
great.
And those are done by professional artists all over the Pioneer Valley. So they applied to do these bears, and they sent in sketches, and then there was a jury, and the jury selected the best possible bears that we could have on the streets. Yes.
So how many bears are there?
Well, there's 92 altogether.
92 bears.
There's 52 tabletop bears and 40 small and big bears.
We could play poker with the 52. No. And the small, so I interrupted you and I apologize. So the kickoff for Bear Fest is an event that's a little later, but the first Bear Fest event is the East Hampton, the One Cottage Street Open Studios event on the 18th or 19th and 20th.
Right, right. That is really the kickoff for the summer arts programming, and that's something a little different than we did in 2009, as we had a week-long arts festival, and this time we're going to spread it out throughout the whole summer. So it really becomes, it's not only an art project. I think that really doesn't do this Bear Fest justice. It's really a tourist initiative. It brings people into East Hampton and brings businesses, a lot of commerce, and and really puts our artist on the map again, which we continue to do over and over again.
And creates a destination, which is kind of an overall effort that a lot of folks in East Hampton are trying to do, and
Absolutely.
brings an awful lot of excitement to the community.
Sure, sure.
So the tabletop bears going to get on display on the 19th and 20th, and then they're going to go into businesses, and I believe there'll be some right here in the municipal office building,
Yes.
in the city clerk's office, and
the DPW.
office.
Yes, yes. And
That'll be fun.
And the DPW has been helping us out with this project as well. They're going to be delivering the logs that the bears will sit on throughout the city. That Parks and Rec, it was the only good thing that I can think of that came out of that snowstorm was those big logs that we have all
A lot of
around.
trees.
Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah. And so tabletop bears come out. What's next?
So they go into the businesses, and then the artists are returning their bears. And something that's really great is that I don't think it's absolutely, totally recognized, because there's all the artists and they do this work, but there's all of the business members that really get involved as well. And one is Full Tilt Auto, and they're actually going to take all of the bears, including the tabletop bears and the big and small bears, and put an auto body finish on them, so that when we do the unveiling, which is on June 9th, which is a really exciting day, they'll be ready to take on the elements. So the bears can sit outside and withstand the sun
So they'll put a
and
clear
rain.
coat on them.
Absolutely,
Nice.
absolutely.
And so that's going to happen to all the bears before they officially get to their locations for the summer.
Yes, yes.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
really good. So if that's Full Tilt Auto, they're on Ferry Street here in East Hampton.
They are.
Really, really, really good community spirit there.
Absolutely. So the unveiling happens on June 9th,
Nice.
as you know, because you'll be speaking there, hopefully.
I'll be there.
Oh, good, good. And Representative Syback as well.
Great.
And we'll have, the unveiling is on Cottage Street at the municipal lot, and we'll have a ribbon cutting there, and also the announcement of the Mount Tom's homemade official Bear Fest ice cream. And people are voting on that right now. I mean, not voting, but they're applying for what the ice cream is and what are the ingredients.
So we're going to have a taste
and-
on the 9th?
Absolutely.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah. And then we'll unveil a bear there. And then the expandable brass band will have a sidewalk parade all the way down to the East Hampton Savings Bank lawn. So that's behind
Right.
East Hampton Savings
Yep.
Bank. And then, so we have all this programming that's happening throughout the day. So you can come to the Cottage Street Municipal Lot and pick up your map and your program for the day. And then you can check out the bears. You can see a barbershop quartet that will be playing throughout the streets. You can go to the East Hampton Savings Bank lawn, and we'll have Flava Evolution will be playing, as well as Bluegrass Co-op. There'll be food from Glory of India. As
very
well
good.
as other vendors that will be there. We also have Bill Shantz who will be doing the teddy bear picnic, and I think he's a local famed teddy bear picnic performance artist. So we're really excited.
Sounds
about
like a
that.
great day. That's going to be a wonderful day. That's a
really
whole day
will be.
event. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Sure, sure. I hope so. it'll be fantastic.
Now, the bears end up on the street, but they sort of appear. So what kind of happens to get them on the street? You mentioned a little bit that there are some logs, I guess, that'll be put out, but let's talk a little bit more about how that works.
Sure. So we have over 30 volunteers that are really working to make this happen, and one of those committees is the locations committee. And so they have been working very hard to put out, figure out where all of these bears are going to be going throughout the city. You know, and it involves everything from a good destination spot for the bear to does the bear, does it fit? You know, is it okay for where on the sidewalk if a bear can actually be okay for a walker by?
Sure.
Yeah,
Pedestrians
a
can get by,
pedestrian.
not blocking the sidewalk, all of those
Absolutely.
things we don't want to do.
Sure. You know,
Yeah.
so it's very detail oriented,
yeah.
and then we have the logs delivered by the DPW, and which is great. It's great that they're helping out with that. And so we're going to mark down where those go, and then 4 in the morning we're going to have a big group of people on the day of Bear Fest, the unveiling, putting out each of those bears. Another business that's helped us out is Stone Soup, and they're letting us use their truck for that day.
Oh, very nice.
Yes.
So we don't have to use the truck from the park department this year.
That's right.
That's good. Stone Soup's truck's going to work okay for this.
I hope so.
Nice. Yeah, it's wonderful that the business community gets so involved in this, and there are lots of sponsors. So these bears get out on the street, and you indicated that there was a judging as far as which artists got the opportunity to do one of these bears. And I know a little bit, but I'm going to lead the question. So if I'm the artist and I was chosen, do I come up with a few bucks to buy paint, or how does that work?
Well, the bears, the artists are small bears and big bears, as I mentioned, and the artists are given either a small bear or big bear, and given a commission of either $250 or $500, depending on the size of the bear initially. And that helps them out with initial cost and hopefully a little bit extra as well.
Pay for a little bit of their time.
Right,
maybe.
absolutely. It really is, you know, I know a lot of the artists put a huge amount of time and effort into making the best bear possible.
Yeah, we've seen some of the artists here in town at various businesses, and I think we'll have a little bit of that later on.
Good.
It's really a lot of fun. Now, these bears, so there's a few dollars. I know we get a couple of dollars from the Cultural Council. You can talk a little bit more about the budget if you'd like. But are there sponsorships available, aren't there?
Oh, sure. There's sponsorship levels from the 10,000 point to $25, and we have all from top to bottom, and you know, every bit counts in making this happen. Really, this is also a fundraising endeavor for the arts community, for arts education, and for artists. At the end of the summer, after the bears are on view, there is an auction in which the bears are auctioned off, and the artists get a percentage of the selling of the bear, and then the rest goes into arts education and arts organizations. And in order to make all this happen, we need to have the upfront cost to buy the bears and to make this whole performance an unveiling and you know, summer-long performance and project happen. Yes, absolutely. And so the sponsors have really stepped up. We had East Hampton Savings Bank come on board last year at the $10,000 level, and so they're, as you know, they're very special to our community. And then, you know, there's just so many to name off. I don't know where to begin.
Well, and the taxpayers helped a little bit with an appropriation in the budget. And then there was the grant. How much was the grant from the Cultural Council?
The Cultural Council was $1,000.
So that was $1,000.
Absolutely.
And so the business sponsors really are a very big part of the success of this. They enable it to happen, and I remember the one we did in 2009, and it was a phenomenal success here in the community, and everyone was just so happy to have it happen. And there seems to be a lot of pent-up anxiety about this one coming off, and I know that the bear models are a little different this year. They're shaped a little different than the last one. Remember they came in, there was a naked bear party, and that was a lot of fun. So when these get out on the street, they're going to be all over downtown? Do we have a sense as to how far-reaching the locations are?
Sure. There's been a lot of studies about how these public art projects work. And initially, in 2009, there was a look at what has worked for other places and what could work for East Hampton. And it's really important that it's a walkable map of bears, so people can follow the bears and really get out and experience East Hampton. So they will be going from Cottage Street down to Union and up through Main Street and over to Pleasant Street over to Eastworks.
Wonderful.
Absolutely.
And they'll be secured to these logs, so hopefully we won't have too many theft problems.
Absolutely.
And that was, although difficult to deal with, it did create a little bit of suspense in the last one and some interest in folks trying to find out what might have happened to, was it Chrome Bear, I think
It was
in the
Chrome
last
Bear.
one, yeah.
And it was, it did get a lot of publicity, and that it was sort of a good thing in some ways. But however, in the end, some of these bears go for $5,000, and that money goes back into art education. So that's a big loss.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So the June 9th event is the kickoff.
Yes.
And is that it? They go on the street and we're all done? Or are there other things that happen over the summer?
We have a whole slew of events that happen that start off with the June 9th event, or the Cottage Street event on May 19th and 20th, then the June unveiling, June 9th. The rain date is June 10th.
Okay.
And then we have art walks that happen every second Saturday, and we'll have a number of events that happen during those art walks, including a puppet show that happens during the July Art Walk, and Arcadia was also funded to do a bear program, a bear family program, so that'll be at
That's
Arcadia.
Mass Audubon? Yeah.
Absolutely. And there was a couple of other programs such as that were funded by the East Hampton Cultural Council that were Bear Fest related, and one was the Pioneer Valley Ballet will be doing a guerrilla video art project that will pop up here and there throughout the whole summer. So we'll have projected video throughout the whole city in different places of a ballet, and but I'll leave it just at that.
Sure.
Then we also have a jazz concert that happens on September 14th. And the location for that is still to be determined, but there'll be Karen Allison will be playing, and we have, if you check out our website, we have a number of events that happen every month, and most of them are free and are family oriented, so everybody's welcome to come out and join us.
What's the website?
EastHamptonBearFest.com. Thank you.
EastHamptonBearFest.com.
Yep.
Don't forget that.
Or EastHamptonCityArts.com.
Very good. Very good. That's wonderful. The event usually brings lots of people to East Hampton, and I heard some rumors, only because it's going to go actually on the lot here, but that there's going to be one unusual bear this year.
That's what we hear. We're gonna.
Yeah.
There's an interest in putting a hay bear out, a very large 16-foot hay bear in front of City Hall.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's really exciting, and we're hoping that we can have some combination with the farmers market and the hay bear, and maybe have an activity that involves that as well.
That'll be a lot of fun. That'll be
Right.
very different. And I remember that there was a bear particularly sighted here near National White Pond last time. It was Fishy Bear, and it sort of related to the pond and the like. And I think I recall seeing a couple of bears being painted at the gallery at the old town hall that might fit near the pond as
They
well.
just might. I think they are going there. We have Pete and Repeat are their names by artist Deborah Burnham. And she has a great story. Her father owned a tackle shop, so it's an homage to him. And it's a sort of father and son fishing right next to the Nashawanack, a view we see all the time.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I remember seeing that at the opening when all of the artists' proposals were on display, and I thought that was quite interesting, and I'm really happy that it got selected.
Absolutely.
So, looking forward to
Good,
seeing it
good.
outside my window down here in downtown.
Right. Another event I'd like to bring up was the fireworks. The fireworks that are happening in East Hampton brings in a tremendous amount of people. And we were thinking about, well, how can we keep people in the city and maybe bring them in a little bit earlier?
Sure.
So we'll have a story walk for kids and their families to walk around and see the bears, and they can they'll be given out a story, and they'll be able to read the story about the bear and fill out a bear fact at each location.
Very good.
Yeah, so we're really excited about
Excellent.
that too.
Excellent. So fun for the whole family. So we know that East Hampton City Arts Plus is very much involved in the Bear Fest, which is certainly a wonderful thing. But that's not all that we do with regards to arts here in the community, and that's not really all that ECA Plus is about. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Great. ECA Plus, as you know, is a city arts organization, and we have about 240 members that are artists or are creative businesses. And we've recently expanded our membership by one specific call to artists, which was through the East Hampton Savings Bank, and they're building a new loan center. And something that we do, we do a lot of things actually. We have a couple of galleries in town, and we have programs that happen throughout the seasons. We have Art Hampton that happens in October, which is an open studio kind of a day, as well as a way to show visitors of East Hampton what our artists do. We have over 80 artists, let alone just in Cottage Street. So it's a huge population here. And so, for example, recently we had East Hampton Savings Bank call us and say, we have a new building. We want to put a new piece in this building, and we want to commission somebody up to $10,000. So we put a call up to just our ECA Plus artists, no other artists outside of that area, of the East Hampton, West Hampton, and Southampton area. If you're an East Hampton City Plus artist, then you are able to apply for this. And we had 33 submissions within a 2-week period. And so that was a great initiative. We gained about 10 new members.
And so the selection process then gets turned over to the bank, and they'll decide which artists they want to commission, and talk in more detail about what that commission might look like.
Absolutely, and that's just one thing that we give to our ECA Plus members. We're kind of like a chamber for artists in some ways. We're really each artist, has their own business. They're trying to make a living. They're trying to sell their work, and the creative economy is just a huge endeavor here in East Hampton because of the population. And the population is a lot of artists who are filling our mill buildings.
Yeah, and they've come here because it's an attractive place to be, and I think that there is certainly an advantage to having larger numbers of artists in like community. I know that that artists, they are independent business people, and they are somewhat independent in their work. That's sort of the nature of it, but I think it's got to be helpful to be surrounded by other artists.
Sure.
There's a synergy, it seems, that comes from that.
Absolutely.
So I know that ECA Plus in your office is located in the historic town hall at 43 Main Street, and that building has been coming along now as a sort of an arts center here in the community, and I know that there's a not-for-profit that operates that. But there's also another not-for-profit in the building, and that's Flywheel. And there seems to be a good synergy between all of the arts-related activities that are happening there.
Oh, absolutely.
Do you think that there's kind of any chance for expanding that in that location?
You mean the arts initiatives there? Oh, absolutely. I mean, and not only do we have Flywheel there, but we have the Alusi Gallery, and we have the Eastmont Custom Framing. And, I think we all work together and are interested in expanding more into making it more of an arts building and stronger, and really a hub for the community to come to, which a lot of people do when they're starting off, especially since it's the old town hall, now the historic town hall. People come in and say, well, what is this? I haven't been here since I was 10, and they learn a little bit about the arts, or artists who are coming in to see a show at Flywheel, they learn about ECA Plus.
Good. And I know that the nonprofit that operates the building on behalf of the city space is talking to Metacomment about the potential for using the upper hall in that building. And so that's I think on the horizon there are some more kind of exciting things that are coming to the community.
Sure.
But there's a lot of exciting things happening now. So thank you very much. It was a pleasure to talk to you today.
Thank you.
And we certainly hope that you take advantage of Bear Fest, and certainly all of the other arts-related activities that happen every month, every week here in East Hampton. Thanks for joining us again. I do hope you enjoyed the program. We love having you here. And don't forget that we do programs about things that interest you. So feel free to contact us. You can email me directly at miket@easthampton.org, or you can email the station, and that's at askmike@ecatchannel5.org. Thanks for coming. We'll see you again.